Hi, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for joining us today. To get us started, I would love it if everybody would go ahead and share in the chat where you're joining us from today. Which city, which state. So I am joining you from Jacksonville, Florida. We have Brandy. Thank you for joining us today. Sarah. Oh, sorry, there was a big lull with some of these responses. Oh, thank you for joining us in the chat. Shannon from Tampa, Anna from Richmond, Virginia, Alicia from Texas. Oh, from Puerto Rico. Thank you very much for joining us. And then we have Frank from Oklahoma. Christy from the very southwest tip of Virginia. Thank you for joining us. Sorry, I missed so much of you. I don't know why it lagged a bit. Doris from Cincinnati. Hello, welcome. Brandy from Louisiana. Monica from Georgia. Hello, welcome. Drew from Ohio. Hello, welcome. Kathy from Okina. Hi, welcome. William from Lancaster. I actually have a conference to go to this summer there, so perhaps you'll come see me.
I know, Christina, I feel like there's a large group of attendees from Louisiana, Texas, and then also Puerto Rico today.
Nice. That's exciting. Michelle from Kentucky. Oh, thanks, Mandy.
I love it. All right, it is 2:01 Central Time, 3:01 Eastern Time. How about we get started? So first of all, thanks for joining us for this session called Scaffolding for Success, Building Bridges to Learning. So my name is Mandy Green, and I have been the facilitator for many of these webinar sessions. Today, we have a special guest who will be leading these webinar series for the remainder of 2026. So her name is Christina Thomas, and she is a learning design specialist here at GW. She is also the expert on all things ed tech, teaching. So she is going to be great at leading our session today on scaffolding. So I am going to turn it over to Christina to take the lead, and then I will see everyone else in the chat.
Thank you so much, Mandy, and thank you to everybody who has joined us for today's session on Scaffolding for Success, providing the right support at the right time. So as Mandy said, my name is Christina. We are going to have a lot of fun in these 30 minutes, hopefully. Would love to have everybody engage in some of the chat discussions and some of the polling opportunities, because this is a time for everybody to learn from and with each other. We want to make sure that this learning experience is successful for everyone, and we love to hear from other participants, other learners as well. So please feel free to engage in the chat because we'd love to hear from you. So here's where we're headed. By the end of this session, you'll be able to define what scaffolding is and is not. You'll be able to identify high impact scaffolding strategies for complex tasks, and also learn how to fade support to build learner independence. So let's start by naming what it feels like when learners hit a complex task without enough support. So I'm going to go ahead and launch. We're going to first start with the chat. So think about the last time your learners struggled with a complex task. It could be multi-step writing, it could be problem solving, a lab analysis, anything like that. What was happening? what were students doing? How are you feeling? So in one word, how did that situation make you feel? I'm going to pause for about 10, 15 seconds, let you think about it, but we would just love to hear from you. Go ahead and put in the chat how that situation made you feel when you noticed that your students were struggling with a complex task. Definitely. Frustrated, very concerned, overwhelmed, stressful, um, curious for sure, felt challenged, lots of frustrated, absolutely. Defeated, yep. I've definitely seen students feel defeated, worried, absolutely. Confused, concerned. They may have blamed themselves. Thank you so much. Great, great responses. I appreciate that. Those words like overwhelmed and stuck and frustrated are actually what I wrote down ahead of time. And look, everybody actually was in my brain, it would appear. These are often signals that the task demands are exceeding what learners can manage independently right now at this time. So scaffolding is how we can keep learners in the work while they build the competence to do the task on their own or independently. So now I'm going to launch that quick poll. Let me go ahead and get to that. I will find it because I know it's here somewhere. Well, that's okay. I'm going to have you put it in the chat because I know I created it ahead of time and I can't find it. So when learners struggle, what's your most common default response? So you see that they're frustrated, they're struggling with something, they may be feeling stressed or overwhelmed. What is your kind of go-to default response to them? Work with them. But it does often take a long time and they tend to need help later. Ah, good. So what do you know? That's good. Identify what they already can, verbalize what they're aware of. I can help you. Excellent. Maybe reteach the lesson. That's great. To fix the issue or the problem. Yep. Private conversation. Very good. Let's try to break this down. Excellent. Yeah, maybe help them too much. Absolutely. I'm sure many instructors fall into that. It's very hard to see the students and the learners struggle for sure. If time permits, back up to find the starting point. Absolutely. Ask questions, listen carefully, identify where they got lost. That's excellent. How can I help you? So many great responses. Thank you so much for your participation in here. Offer extensions, absolutely. Today we'll focus on how to choose supports that keep the thinking with the learner and then remove them purposefully or intentionally. All right, so let's look at two quick snapshots. So on this slide, there's snapshot one, and I'll show you snapshot two shortly, but the scenario here is that we're in a health science pathway course, and students will be conducting a research project on patient care plans. So we have the instructor shows a full patient care plan, modeled it, showed it, right? And then after that, the instructor assigns the project. So the directions state, create a full patient care plan. All right, so that is snapshot one. Then in snapshot two, the instructor shows a full patient care plan again, or still. And when she assigns the task, she has the directions, which are to create a full patient care plan and this time though, she has some steps along the way. So you'll notice here in this snapshot B that there's four big steps. So we have step one, analyze a sample case with guided questions that the instructor has provided. Step two, identify the patient needs. So a template could be provided for this step. And then step three, draft one section of this patient care plan, submit it to the teacher for some feedback. You know, it's a great way to have the students check in with you, make sure that they are on the right track. And then step 4, go ahead and build the full plan. So go ahead and drop into the chat what differences that you notice between snapshot A and snapshot B. So what comes to your mind when you think of the task given in A? Right here, show it, give the assignment with the directions, or snapshot B, show it, give the directions, and then with some steps. Go ahead and share in the chat what you have noticed between the difference of the two. B had more steps, absolutely. Not much direction in the first snapshot, absolutely. More focused and with a step-by-step, absolutely. B shows the expectations of the task, correct. Snapshot B gave more detailed information, broken down more, perfect. Fewer lines are less intimidating. It's amazing what those visuals, you know, can make you feel, for sure. Bite-sized pieces are less overwhelming, totally, thank you. He explains what to do better, right? Yes, it's that first one's kind of an open-ended, right? You know, and just go ahead and complete it. Wonderful, guys. Thank you so much. You know, so why this works, this reduces the cognitive overload. Look, I have tried saying that multiple times, and I keep saying overlord as if I just read Harry Potter or something. I'm so sorry. This reduces the cognitive overload. I will get that at some point, and builds confidence through small wins. So it seems like most of you noticed that. Chunk and chew. Yep. Thank you. And if you complete step 1, you get to check it off. You feel good about yourself. You're moving in the right direction. You get feedback from the teacher from that chunk. So absolutely. Thanks for all that wonderful feedback. So second quick poll, which will really just be in the chat now. Which scaffolding strategy do you use most often? This helps us see, you know, kind of the experience in the room. So if you don't mind, let everybody know what you use. And if you don't scaffold much now, that's okay too. We're here to learn with and from each other. So let's see what people are already trying out there. Modeling for sure. Excellent. And some that I have here, in case it's hard for you to see your screen, I have breaking tasks into steps, modeling, think alouds actually, using sentence frames or prompts for the students. You kind of help as things come up, yep. And then you're not sure or you don't use any right now, and that's okay. Excellent. So modeling with steps and helping with things as they come along, modeling the think alouds, great, breaking tasks into steps and modeling. And also helping as things come up. Yeah, it just depends on the situation, right? Maybe you use many of them and maybe you stick to one because it typically works for you. Awesome. Breaking things into steps seems to be a big one. Wonderful. And still feel free to share that as we go along. So this really isn't a new idea. You know, scaffolding is really supported by decades of research, from Vygotsky's zone of proximal development to modern evidence synthesis like John Hattie's visible learning. So the big takeaway is consistent. You know, when support is well designed and then it gradually fades away, learning can accelerate. Oh, examples and non-examples? Absolutely. Thank you. Keep them coming. So here's a working definition. Scaffolding is temporary, intentional instructional support that helps learners master complex tasks and is gradually removed. So the goal is not more help, the goal is more independence. So remember that, temporary and intentional. Scaffolding is not doing the work for learners. It's not a permanent crutch. And it's not automatically reteaching everything, right? So when scaffolds become permanent, they can unintentionally create dependency, you know. The students feel like they just have to have the teacher, right? But we want to try to get them to become more independent, which is the purpose of the scaffolds. So 3 principles help us scaffold without over scaffolding. Contingent means the support responds to what learners need right now. Temporary means we plan to fade it. And explicit means we make the thinking visible. So models, examples, prompts, learners can take over the process at some point. So that word contingent is really about formative evaluation. We check for understanding, we interpret evidence, and adjust supports based on the impact of our scaffolds. So here are a few practical scaffolds that you can use tomorrow. If you don't already, sounds like a lot of you use some of these. So we have worked examples, chunking, modeling and think alouds, guiding questions. And I'm going to go ahead and break these down a bit as well. So these align with several high impact influences in Hattie's work, especially teacher clarity and feedback and well-structured direct instruction, guided practice, checking for understanding. So let's see what we have here. So a couple of worked examples. So the scenario is that you're in a lab or a shop, and we have in that worked example, the instructor models the diagnosis or models how to diagnose an issue going step by step. And then we have the guided practice where the student completes partially finished examples. They fill in the missing steps. And then we have independent practice where students perform the full diagnosis independently. So that's worked example. And then we have chunking, and this is something that we showed a bit earlier, where it breaks a complex task into meaningful steps with checkpoints. So this is, what you saw with the patient care plan, where it's a big project and then break it down into chunks so students feel successful along the way. You could check in with the students throughout, and this reduces the cognitive overload, and builds confidence through small wins. And then we have modeling think alouds. So scenario really is any discipline or career cluster. So the instructor verbalizes the thinking. So I'm noticing this trend, or this part is confusing. So I'm going to reread or walk through the steps again. I used to do this when I was an instructor all the time. It's really like it makes the invisible thinking visible for the students, and then they feel more comfortable and confident doing it themselves. And it gives them a chance to see what the expert is thinking, and maybe they emulate it at some point. Guiding questions. So the scenario, let's say a student is stuck on a task, and so instead of telling them, okay, here's what to do, you could just ask them some questions. So you can say, what's your first step? Or what information do you already have? What strategy could you try? So these prompts will move thinking forward without giving them the answer. I know that was challenging for me because you're like, I know it and I just want to give it to them. But it is better if you just prompt them with, these questions to make sure that they're doing the work inside their head as well. Keeps the thinking with the learner. All right, so quick check-in. Which of these scaffolding strategies resonated with you? Please share in the chat and feel free to add any others that you use that you'd like to share. I like the guiding questions to increase student ownership of the learning. Excellent. Guided question. Yep. Chunking. Modeling think alouds. Yep. Chunking and guiding questions. Awesome. Worked examples and modeling think alouds. Absolutely. Wonderful. Thank you for your participation and sharing with everybody. Really appreciate that. Worked example and leave it visible for students. Fabulous. Thank you so much. Another one that I didn't put in here, though, is sentence frames. So you can give them like the first part of a sentence and let them finish. That might, help them think in that direction. So I like that too. So reflection check. So my job or instructor's job is to evaluate the impact. So scaffolds are really hypotheses, guessing, is this going to help the student or not? And so our checks for understanding tell us if they're working and when to fade them out. So one of the session goals certainly was to try to figure out, when to start fading them out so it doesn't become, a permanent thing, these scaffolds. So fading support to build confidence. So one suggestion on how to remove the scaffolds intentionally is the gradual release model. I'm sure many or most of you have heard of this, which is the I do, we do, you do model. So, day one, the instructor models the task. Day two, students complete it with some guidance, either guidance from the teacher, guidance from a partner, guidance with filling out certain questions. And then day three, students work independently. So gradual release. And then we have, let's say the scenario is writing or project work. Reduce the structure over time. So the early stage could be, give the student a full template with headings and prompts for them to fill out. Middle stage, you can leave just the headings for this project or this writing assignment. And then the later stage, just open-ended task, right? Remove those scaffolds as they become more comfortable and they had enough of the guided practice. And also peer support to individual accountability. So an early stage example of this would be the instructor is modeling, the we do, as it were. Middle stage could be partner work. And then later stage, individual performance. That's another way to gradually remove those scaffolds. So one scaffolding move I will try this week. So I would love to hear, now this is a little bit more I'm asking for in the chat, but I would love it if you could just think of the discipline that you teach or think of the topic, the unit, the chapter that you're currently teaching. And if you can consider someone that has shown that they're really struggling with this topic or an assignment, are there any of the scaffolding strategies that we discussed today that you think you might want to try? Which one would that be? Maybe you're in the middle of scaffolding, but you've been having some trouble kind of removing the scaffolds. Is there any way that you could find yourself more confidently, gradually taking those scaffolds away? Would love to hear any scenarios that you can share with us so we can learn from and with each other. I like to think of this model, this kind of graphic organizer here, first step modeling, then guiding, offering support, and then the release. So if you can share a situation with us so we can learn from you, or if you're just thinking of it now based on some of these strategies and how to gradually release the responsibility to your students, we would love to hear that from you so we can learn from each other. Use I do, we do, you do with a rubric to help remove scaffolds, but set learner up for success. Very nice. Thank you for sharing. Anyone else think of anything else? Got a big project coming up. Maybe they work in a lab. Jigsaw method this week. Very nice. Thank you. Yes, chunk those sections of text or of projects. Absolutely. Guiding questions to start student thinking on their own. Had a student who was getting mad because he could not set electrodes on an oil burner. Yes. Yes, I would be frustrated too. Guiding questions, thank you. Learning menus to demonstrate mastery in different ways based on learning style identified at the beginning of the year. Always ready to give up and leave. Yes. Found chunking difficult with a large group of students in the classroom, but I will use that method when working on curriculum and Canvas for independent learning. Nice. Thanks for sharing, Sarah. Support and release. Yep. Absolutely. Well, that's excellent. Thank you so much. Keep thinking of these. You know, these are recorded, and so you can always revisit if you want to see these strategies again. Calm it down, work one-on-one in private. Seems to work. That's great. Thank you for sharing. So just remember that the goal of scaffolding is not support, it is independence. So keep that in mind. So you remember to not just provide the guidance, but also release it so they can complete it on their own or do it independently next time. Well, I want to thank everybody for joining us today. I also want to show you that our next session is on June 2nd. And if you would like to sign up for that, we would love to have you join. It is Beyond Q&A, Facilitating Dynamic Discussions. So if you want to go ahead and scan that QR code, please feel free to do so. And I do have the link here because sometimes that's easier for people. Let's see if I can. Oh, of course not. Okay, gonna get it. Everybody, let's see. I can get it now. Oh boy, that's like font 95. I am not sure that worked. So that is supposed to take you to the registration page. Let's see if it does. Already registered. Thanks, Drew. Awesome. Beyond Q&A. Okay, very good. Sorry for the massive font. But yes, if you haven't registered already, please do so you can continue in the Educator's Edge. And last thing, we always like to get your feedback. So if you have a moment, we'd love for you to scan this QR code and fill out the short survey. And we thank you for joining us today and hope to see you next time. I'll leave this open just so you can go ahead and scan the QR code and feel free to enter anything in the chat that you like. Thank you, Sarah. It was a good reminder that scaffolds are gradually removed and not permanent. Yes, I agree. Thank you for that. Thanks, guys. I'm so glad everybody joined into the conversation. I truly appreciate that. And yes, we will send a certificate. Thanks for checking. Oh, thanks for the kind words, everybody. So glad you come here to be a part of the learning community. We really appreciate it. Can't wait to see everybody next time.